Hello, welcome to my vlog assignment for Child Welfare Social 459 with Professor Jakubinas. My name is Smith Sinclair and I'll be covering the key concepts from units 1 through 4 from the beginning of this semester. Our key concepts, there was a ton of them, however, the ones that I chose most important from each unit, which was about 4 from each of the units. We have Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, also CAPTA, trauma-informed practices, adverse childhood experiences, also ACEs, adversity, child welfare era, Adoption and Safe Family Act, ASFA, promoting safe and stable families program, Indigenous child welfare, toxic stress, neglect versus poverty, social worker prevention of perpetuating disproportionality or disparity, implicit versus explicit biases, protective factors, components of resilience, and access to resources affected on the micro and macro system domains. Main concepts, so the most important 4 concepts that I'll be focusing on that I believe relate to all of those other important concepts are CAPTA, which is the Childhood Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, the ACEs, which is the Adverse Childhood Experiences, toxic stress, and protective factors. Up first, we have CAPTA. It's when Congress assumed a leadership role in child welfare. It authorized federal funds to improve the state response to physical abuse, neglect, and sexual abuse. And it improved investigation and reporting of child abuse and neglect. Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act has defined child abuse and neglect as any recent act or failure to act on the part of a parent or caregiver that results in death, serious physical or emotional harm, sexual abuse or exploitation, or an act or failure to act that presents an imminent risk of serious harm. Next, we have ACEs. ACEs refers to a group of traumatic experiences in childhood, including maltreatment that can cause toxic stress and affect an individual's physical, psychological, and behavioral well-being. More ACEs gives children a greater chance of poor outcomes later in life. Some examples are increased risk of heart disease, obesity, depression, substance abuse, smoking, bad academic achievements, and can lead to an early death. ACEs refers to 3 specific types of adversity children have to face in home environments: physical and emotional abuse, neglect, and household dysfunction. Next, we have toxic stress. Toxic stress is the body's sustained exposure to extremely high levels of stress hormones that become damaging, especially during child and adolescent development. Some effects are it can affect developing brain, the immune system, the metabolic system, regulatory system, and cardiovascular system. Lastly, we have the protective factors. Protective factors are conditions or attributes of individuals, families, communities, and the larger society that mitigate risk and promote the healthy development and well-being of children, youth, and families. Protective factors, how they help in cases of child abuse and or neglect. They promote self-efficacy, sense of purpose, self-regulation skills, relational skills, and problem-solving skills. So why are they important to child welfare? Why are these important to child welfare? Well, CAPTA made child welfare a government-regulated matter. Prior to CAPTA, there was private and local services to advocate for child welfare. So what would happen is sometimes in the rural or remote places, they had less access to these services and protection compared to a larger city. ACEs, they're common even among middle class. ACEs are common amongst everybody in society. The more ACEs that one has, it's the greater risk of a poor outcome later in life. They also have increased risk of heart disease, diabetes, obesity, depression, substance abuse, smoking, poor academic achievement, time out of work, and early death. Toxic stress, it explains how the ACEs can trigger a biological reaction. It can have an effect on your developing brain, immune system, metabolic, regulatory, and cardiovascular health. Protective factors are very important to child welfare because it strengthens strengths that buffer and support families. It helps ensure children and youth function well at home, in school, at work, and within the community. It helps at-risk parents find resources, support coping strategies to allow them to parent effectively, even under stress. So I made a concept map. It starts with child welfare all the way to the left, and then you have your 4 main concepts that I chose, which were the ACEs, CAPTA, toxic stress, and protective factors. And you can see here how all of these kind of correlate with one another. CAPTA was a pivotal role in the development of the child welfare system. They coined the term ACEs, which helped identify a tangible definition of the different types of maltreatment of children. The research of ACEs helps see the cause and effect of what toxic stress can do to a child's biological and societal growth, and develop protective factors to both mitigate risks and promote healthy development and well-being of children, youth, and families. CAPTA is important to the child welfare era because it was a pivotal role in creating protection against adversity, rights and protection to children, youth, families, and communities. CAPTAs distinguish the difference between neglect and poverty. Poverty is a complex ongoing issue that does not necessarily mean they are neglecting their children. AFSA was created to protect children from abuse and neglect within their own families and to monitor foster care timelines and follow-up support for adoption. ACEs are essential knowledge to child welfare. They describe the different kinds of adversity that children have to face and overcome. They allow social workers to effectively execute trauma-informed practices. With trauma-informed practices, social workers will be able to identify triggers or how the children perceive things. Children with ACEs have faced adversity and have had to learn components of resilience from the trauma of their ACEs while dealing with micro and macro systems domains. The more ACEs a child has, and the generational trauma of ACEs also have varying levels of access to resource effective. It is more than just trying harder. They have harder circumstances they have to work through to make it successfully through life. Toxic stress has a major impact on the lives of the children who face it through adversity and neglect. Although there is a difference between neglect and poverty, poverty can also cause toxic stress to a child. Social workers have to be self-aware to prevent perpetuating disproportionality or disparity to not inflict more toxic stress upon children. Implicit and explicit biases also adds toxic stress to children through attitudes or stereotypes that affect our understanding, actions, and decisions on an unconscious manner, and through a conscious level of awareness with intention. Protective factors are key to mitigate risk and promote healthy development and well-being of children, youth, families, and communities. Protective factors that negate the effects of risk factors and decrease negative behaviors such as AFSA, where they monitor the timeline of children through going through foster care and check in on the children and families that go through adoptions. Similarly, promoting safe and stable family program, increased authorization levels to provide post-adoption services, and substance abuse treatment. Another protective factor is Indigenous child welfare. which protects the rights and cultures of American Indians and Alaskan Natives who have a higher amount of ACEs due to the government separating the children from their families at young age and suppressing their culture. Social workers use trauma-informed practices to work with these children because they could be triggered by certain practices or services from the ACEs. In conclusion, child welfare has dramatically improved throughout its timeline. The main concepts that have contributed to it was CAPTA, through the government regulating child welfare to have it become equally regulated across the nation. ACEs, which identify the different adversities that children go through. Toxic stress reveals the biological effects, short and long term, of the constant stress and adversities children go through. To help negate and reduce future risk and promote healthy development, they have created protective factors which give children exposed to adverse experiences tools, researches, and community to build resilience and successful coping skills to successfully navigate life. And here is my reference page, and thank you very, very much